All right, let's set the scene. The year is 2008. On the surface, everything seems fine, right? The global economy is just chugging along, but underneath, something is starting to go very, very wrong.
And then, it wasn't just a crack. It was a complete and total implosion. The entire global financial system, the thing that underpins, well, everything, it just collapsed. Banks were failing. The markets were in free fall. And literally millions of people were about to lose their homes and their jobs.
But here's the thing. In the middle of all that chaos, there was one guy who wasn't surprised. Not one bit. He'd seen the signs. He'd read the data that no one else was even looking at, and he knew this was coming. And he didn't just see it. He bet on it.
This is the unbelievable story of Michael Burry. He's the man who bet against the entire world and won. It's a story that's really a masterclass in how to see what everyone else is determined to ignore. So, who was this guy, Michael Burry? Well, what's so fascinating is that he wasn't your typical Wall Street hotshot. Not even close. He actually started out as a medical doctor, a neurologist. You see, while most investors were just following the herd, listening to the same experts on TV, Burry was doing something totally different. He was locking himself away and reading. We're talking thousands and thousands of pages of mind-numbingly boring financial documents, the stuff that the traders themselves couldn't even be bothered to read. He wasn't looking for hot tips. He was hunting for the truth buried deep in the data. And that's exactly what he found. It wasn't just some little market inefficiency either. Oh no, he found a massive, catastrophic flaw woven into the very fabric of the financial system. He started focusing all his attention on the U.S. housing market. Now, back then, everyone believed this was the safest investment on the planet. Rock solid. But as Burry started to sift through the data on these mortgage bonds, he uncovered something that was just shocking. He realized the whole thing was built on something called subprime mortgages. So what does that mean? Well, to put it simply, these were incredibly risky home loans given to people who, statistically, had almost no chance of ever paying them back. But here's the insane part. The big banks were bundling thousands of these terrible loans together, slapping a top-tier AAA safety rating on them and selling them as if they were gold. The whole system wasn't just built on a house of cards. It was a total illusion. Now, any normal person who discovered this would probably just get their money out of the market and run for the hills. But Michael Burry wasn't a normal person. He decided to do something way more audacious. He was about to make the biggest bet of his life. His logic was actually pretty straightforward, but it came from doing the hard work no one else would. First, he knew all those loans were ticking time bombs just waiting to default. Second, he figured that when they did, it would start a chain reaction that would bring down even the so-called safe bonds, which led him to his third, absolutely wild step. He was going to bet against the entire American housing market. So how'd he do it? He used this financial tool called a credit default swap. Okay, the easiest way to think about this is like buying fire insurance on a building that you know is about to burn down. He was paying the big banks millions of dollars in monthly premiums, all based on his bet that their prized mortgage bonds would eventually be worthless. I mean, this move was so out there that everyone thought he was crazy. And I mean everyone, including his own investors, the people who had entrusted him with their life savings. They weren't just questioning him, they were furious. He was betting against America itself. It was basically financial heresy. And for a long, painful time, it really looked like they were right. He placed his big bet in 2005. But through 2006, the market just kept going up and up. By 2007, his investors were in a full-blown panic, demanding their money back. He was just bleeding cash, paying those insurance premiums month after month, while the world partied on. Can you just imagine the pressure to give up? But Burry didn't flinch. He held on. He trusted his research. And then, well, we all know what happened next. In 2008, the dam broke. Everything Burry had predicted came true with a terrifying force. The housing market didn't just dip, it cratered. The big investment banks started to fail. And all of a sudden, Michael Burry didn't look like a crazy person anymore. He looked like a genius. So what was the payoff for all that conviction and stress? Well, his personal take from the whole thing was a staggering $100 million. And for his investors, the very same people who had called him crazy and tried to pull their money out, he made them an incredible $700 million. And you have to put this in perspective. He didn't just get rich. He pulled this off while the rest of the world was experiencing a financial apocalypse, while trillions of dollars of wealth were just being wiped off the map. So, what's the lesson here? What can we learn from this incredible story? Because this really wasn't about luck. It was about a mindset, a process that we can all learn from. This was absolutely not a lucky guess. It was the direct result of three things. First, deep, nitty-gritty research, reading the things nobody else wants to. Second, truly independent thinking, forming your own conclusions from the evidence, not from what's popular. And third, and maybe the hardest part, having the courage to ignore the crowd, to stand by your convictions, even when everyone is telling you you're a fool.
Barry's story is the perfect example of this idea. The biggest rewards in life, not just in finance, are found where no one else is looking, based on truths that everyone else is actively ignoring.
And that kind of leaves us with one final, pretty big question. Michael Burry found the flaw that everyone was blind to back in 2008. So if we look around at the world today, what's the big thing that we're all missing? What is everyone blind to right now?